Recording 3, 2, 1. Hello, my friendly acquaintances. My name is George Bruno. Welcome to Fire Your Boss. And I am joined by my co-hosts, Mr. Dan T-Bone Jones, otherwise known as Jonesy, and Mr. Frank Garon. How are you, gentlemen?
And what am I known as? Are we forgetting?
Loverboy.
That's right. Yes. Frank Loverboy Garon. I still can't say that with a straight face, but I had to get it in there. Yeah, I'm outstanding. I'm outstanding. I'm working with Mario today.
Hey, it's me. This
That's
is
great.
our Halloween episode. And it works out because George is wearing black, Frank's wearing orange, and I'm dressed up.
Yeah, there we go. That's good. That's good.
You put a tie in an outfit, you can go anywhere.
You know, I was going to say, with a yellow vest on, a hard hat, and carrying a clipboard, you can walk through any door in the country.
Yeah.
You know,
Yep.
It's pretty funny. Well, today is our 30th episode of Fire Your Boss. I can't believe we've done 30 episodes. I'm pretty happy about that. Man, there's a lot of information. When I look back on all 30 episodes, my Lord, it truly is an online marketing academy. One of the things that keeps people from moving forward is fear of the unknown, fear of what could possibly happen. We talked about it in the last episode where, you know, you're about ready to leap off the edge and go on your own. And you think to yourself, you know, what if I fall? What if I fail? And then there's that voice in the sky that says, well, what if you fly? You know, what if you don't fail? You know, and I think what happens is we have to turn down the voices everywhere in our life that say, what are you doing? You're crazy. What's the matter with you? You know, you have it made and your job. You know what I mean? What about you're giving up all job security and you're taking quite a risk here. And I don't think anything great in life was ever accomplished without risk. And we all blew that myth away in our last episode where we talked about the myth of job security. There is no security. We don't need to rehash that. But how does someone let go of fear and make the first move? Jonesy, what do you think?
Man, I love it when you team me up like this, especially when you start referencing past episodes. And I'm thinking, you know, the book, The E-Myth, right, which we reference here and there. We could start a book called The J-Myth, which is the security of the job and how it's a complete illusion. And fear, right? Fear is what keeps us from taking that next step. And fear can be, you know, expressed in a few ways, usually outcome based, because it's questioning the unknown and having feelings of terror about the unknown. Fear of financial security, fear of judgment, like you just talked about, people in your circle saying, oh, you're crazy, you're nuts. Fear of failure. And that may be even one of the biggest ones. And yes, failure can lead to possible, you know, financial uncertainty. But fear of failure, that's probably the one that's least tangible and the one you have the most control over, because failure is something that it's qualitative, right? You can theoretically not accomplish an objective and turn a failure into a case study of how not to do something or how to improve upon something, right? Like Thomas Edison, 800 ways not to build a light bulb. Those aren't failures. That's just the scientific method. Failure is half of the scientific method, right? Eliminating.
Yes.
So those are three main factors of fear that I've talked to and myself have experienced. So one of the things I tell myself is that none of these three things are physically harming. And that's, you know, where fear comes from internally. It's an emotion that's a defense mechanism to protect you against physical harm from predators and stuff like that, the unknown. However, there are fewer and fewer physical predators that threaten our existence, you know, if you discount or discard, you know, car accidents, stuff like that, which if you might as well live in fear if that's your concern, because that stuff's out there. Anyway, your entrepreneurship and your job and your career and your monetization don't have those physical harm factors. In fact, depending on your actual job, you may be removing some physical threats in your life. And health threats in your life, for sure. So my key takeaway is a phrase that I have reminded myself many times, and I remind others, my friends, my clients, colleagues who are facing that is, you know, your survival through this, your survival rate's been 100%. And that's going to continue no matter what you try in entrepreneurship and business. Your survival rate will be 100%.
like that. Yeah, people catastrophize everything.
They do.
What if I fail? What if I don't make it? What if I can't pay the bills? What if, like,
Yeah.
whatever, what if, and they have a really loud voice. I will contend to say that voice is their own voice. It's their own doubts. It's the 8-year-old skinny invisible boy who feels powerless in life, independent on everyone else, and that can follow us into our 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, and beyond. Is that little boy, the doubting little boy. And one of my favorite YouTube channels is the School of Hard Knocks, and that guy just hits people up on the street who are driving fancy cars. Excuse me, sir, can I have a minute of your time? And he'll talk to them about how they made their money. And one of the questions he always asks is, have you ever failed? Have you ever gone to the bottom? And like everybody, every single one says, most of them start laughing. They go, oh God, of course I have, and then they relive that dark time, but then they have something to hang on to, and that's their success. But everyone's got a story. Frank Garon, I know you got stories.
Oh, I have so many stories. My stories have stories. Absolutely. I think I want to thank Jonesy for stealing all my lines that I was going to say, or should I say Mario. You do have 100% survival rate so far. So why the hell is that going to change? 100%. Every bad situation, every crazy situation, every scary situation, every fear-filled situation, you've gotten through. So one time in life you want to look back and say, hey, wait a second. Is this thing going to kill me? Am I going to be eaten by a bear? Or is this just a stupid internet and I'm trying to make a living on it? Like, hello,
Yeah.
It's not brain surgery. We're not saving sick kids from cancer. We're not curing hunger. The whole thing's a goof anyway. So enjoy the ride. Yes, treat it like a business, but how bad can you fail at something that's been around for what, 25, 30 years now for an average person? Come on, you got high speed this, you got Google, you got Zoom, you have YouTube, you have all these different things that you can learn this stuff. Anything I want, I could pretty much get on the computer or the internet. So why would I be afraid? I have resources. I've got the world at my fingertips. And not to sound like an old goat, but we didn't have that back in my day. I had to walk uphill both ways in the snow to look something up. And an encyclopedia. Remember those, George?
I sure do.
Yeah. And it's funny, my ex and I, we bought our last set about 2 years before the internet got big. Paid like $1,000. We're like, hey, we need this. And then there you go. Oops. Didn't see that one coming. There's nothing to be afraid of. It's all imaginary. And it's like telling my kids, my 10-year-old boy, he still struggles with the dark. I'm like, dude, there's nothing there that's in the dark that is not there in the light. Except what? A bunch more shadows? So metaphorically, that translates to, what are you worried about? Like, what are you afraid of? What is the internet going to explode? Is some demon going to hop through your monitor and swallow you? It's the internet. Yes, you can do this. Anybody can do it. You can never fail if you don't get started. That's the only way you can avoid failure. And that's by its definition is failure, George?
It's funny. I get these companies, these fitness product companies that are now, for some reason, reaching out to me, sending me all kinds of equipment, like little gadgets to strengthen myself, and everything from resistance band things to things with springs on them and things with variable resistance and all this stuff.
Right.
And people, and I'm going to review them, make a few bucks with affiliate, their affiliate program, and do some videos and such, and show some before and after stuff of how things are working. And people have said to me, private message me saying, which is the best piece of fitness equipment that you have? What do you recommend? And I'm like, the best one is the one that you use, period. It's like if you don't use it, you're not going to benefit from it. And when I look at what is the best, what's better, having an email list, starting a YouTube channel, a podcast, or affiliate programming, or this or that, I'm like, whatever, do something, pick one, throw a dart wherever it lands, man. That's what you do, period. Otherwise, you will just paralyze yourself. Just, what do they say? The paralysis of analysis.
Yeah,
Literally,
analysis is,
you're just
absolutely.
looking at everything. You're just checking everything out. You're testing everything. And again, in our world, we always talk about testing things. Okay, I get that. But what happens is there's people who are professional testers. They just never stop. They test, but they actually don't execute. And what is the what do they say? Comparison is the enemy. Am I thinking right? Comparison is the enemy of execution, or analysis, or something.
Maybe. Yeah, comparison is, when you there's other sayings that are tied to that, having to do with, you are in your lane, you are your person. Don't necessarily compare yourself to others, whether it be rivals, colleagues, contemporaries. It doesn't matter. You can draw inspiration and have a rivalry, sure, but don't focus on comparison.
Yeah. I had heard Gary V probably almost 10 years ago. People would make excuses and say, but I work full time, I don't have time. And he just came right out and said, get up 2 hours earlier and stay up an hour later. He goes, there's 3 extra hours you just found in your day. Multiply that, times 7. Everybody has 20 hours a week that they waste. Everybody.
Oh,
and
absolutely.
What
Absolutely.
could you do? Yeah, what could you do with that found time? What could you do with 20 hours a week? And everyone has it. And I'll never forget, that kind of flipped a little switch inside my head when he said, get up 2 hours earlier and stay up an hour later. And I get that. Very few people have the luxury of just quitting something and then doing their side hustle full time. The reason why a side hustle is a side hustle is because you're doing it while you are working full time for the man. And that you need to take a leap of faith once you get confident in your side hustle, where you could eventually say goodbye to the man. And if, again, we've said it 1,000 times on this podcast, if you're waiting for conditions to be perfect, you're going to wait forever. Nothing will ever happen, ever.
Well, George, that's this guy with the real estate stuff. He's like, oh, I got to do this and get that through. And there's 2 of them on the call, and I love them both. Lovely men, great guys. You'd want them to be your friends and neighbors, but they're sitting there tinkering and puttering and experimenting and test. I'm like, do you know? I was home full time like 8 months before I could explain how, because network marketing on the internet is what got me home. So there's a compensation plan. You're recruiting other people. I was home 8 months, George, before I could explain the compensation plan fully. Now, where would I have been if I said, I can't call a lead? I've never done that before. I can't sign anybody up. I can't explain the compensation plan. Well, back then, damn it, that's what Facts on Demand was for. I tell them, listen, you know what? It's a very easy way we get paid, blah, blah, blah. Here's the document. I want you to have it. So when somebody asks you that, you have it too. And I learned as I went. The fact was, I was in motion where these other guys, real estate, you're talking 10, 20, 50, maybe $100,000 deals, net profit for one deal. My ass would be on fire, quite frankly, if I was driving a tractor trailer still and knew about real estate. I would do anything to get. I still miss driving the truck, George. I don't miss working for the man, But I was in motion. Well, what's so special about you, Frank? Well, duh. I actually took action. That's the difference. There's not
That's the difference.
Well, yeah, depression, divorce. My divorce from Frankie's mom over the years, $600,000, George, between alimony, business buyout support, and fighting for custody of a kid that I already had equal custody. Don't even get me started on that one. But the point is, 600 grand, and I'm still standing.
We talked about it in the last episode in that movie 3 Kings, where the guy was afraid to go from point A to point B, and George Clooney said something. The George Clooney character said, it doesn't work like that. You do what scares the shit out of you, then you get the courage. That's how it works. And what works? It goes back to that exercise equipment. What's the best piece of exercise equipment? The one that you use. What are the best hours to start your job? The hours that you already have. To start your side, the hours that you already have. You come home, usually you take a nap. All right, don't take a nap. Go out in the garage and develop that product. Go into your office and write that ebook a little bit at a time. Zig Ziglar used to talk about this all the time. He wrote a book many years ago. It was kind of like a sales Bible called Secrets of Closing the Sale. And he talked about writing the book, and he wrote a page and a quarter every day for a year and then edited it, and that became the book called Secrets of Closing the Sale. But when you look at a 300-page book, it's a mountain in front of you. Like, my God,
it's
I could never write.
overwhelming. Sure.
Yeah, but can you write a page a day? Of course you can.
Yeah.
Of course. Will it take 30 minutes? Yeah, it's no problem. You waste 30 minutes a day doing dumb shit. Most, like we talked about, everybody has 20 hours a week. Jonesy, do you think if somebody takes 20 hours a week, can they start their own business? Can they develop a side hustle? Can they have hope? Can they learn? Can they train themselves to say goodbye to the man if they have 20 extra hours a week? What do you think about that?
You can do it in less. And I want to refer back to Gary Vee, who I've been watching and following for a long, long, long time. And I've learned a lot from him. But he does pontificate the hustle culture a little bit too much for my liking. And that's okay. It's for some people, but I'm more about optimizing and maximizing. And, one of my whys, why I do what I do and the way I do it, is for time and to free up time to enjoy life more, because I spent too much, working in indentured servitude for employers. And now I'm being like deeply depressed. I just made a joke a couple minutes ago about being on Team Prozac, literally the lowest dose, just to keep me on that keel.
Sure.
What are opening up a little bit here, it's fine. I'm a big proponent for mental health. I've got clients who are in that industry. In our networking group, we've got people from Neurowave TMS who treat long-term depression. So it's very close to my heart. Anyway, optimize your time and do it in a way where, again, should we have to monetize every hobby? No, but if you're going to start a side hustle, do it with something that you want to do. All right. Just from the policy of, if you wake up in the morning and do what you love, you're not working and you get paid for it. We know this. Like this right here, the Fire Your Boss podcast. This is not work for me.
No.
And
It doesn't feel like work. Yeah.
We all run our individual businesses. This is, for all intents and purposes, it is a monetized side hustle. Okay.
Yes, it is.
Just one example. That's how all these Etsy people do it. I have a friend who, she's my friend also, but it's my friend's wife. She makes handcrafted wands, like medieval, mythical, fantastical wands, but they are like craftsman next level. She sells them at Renaissance fairs, at shows, at Comic Cons, online. It's not work for her. And now that's basically her full-time gig. And, I didn't count the hours she worked doing it, but yes, there are 20 hours a week you can free up. I'm a bigger proponent of optimize and maximize the time that you're wasting first before getting up earlier and staying up later. Because you should do one or the other, I feel like. Again, we talked about this a couple episodes ago where, George, you're a very early riser. And I used to be more so, like up at 5:30, between 5:30 and 6:30. And now that my physical activity is hockey, which I get to do all the time, almost to a detriment because it beats me up because all this free time I find myself having.
Right.
I play at night a lot more. That's when the beer leagues plays at night. It's not sustainable or healthy to be playing a game between 7 p.m. and midnight and then waking up at 4:30 the next day. That'll kill you. That's not good for your health. So again, pick one and be consistent with it. Free up maybe 10 hours a week and optimize the time you're doom scrolling on social media. Allocate that time to something else productive, even if it's learning and research. And the second one being, 10 minutes accomplishing some goal. And I'm going to tie all this back into fear, which was the target concept of the episode, the topic of the episode. And what can you do to eliminate or start mitigating fear immediately and try something new that maybe is uncomfortable. Be it that, that's very basic improv mindset. Fear is yes, but this could happen, where growth mindset is yes, and which is improv. And I'm not amazing at it. It's, there's somebody local in Southeast PA who runs a professional improv training center, who I'm actually going to ask to do a presentation on the Fire Your Boss Summit. But anyway, I saw him speak a couple times at some workshops, and it's pretty eye opening, but simple concepts of yes and, because you can always eliminate later. It's like improv is like brainstorming. You throw it up there, throw it at the wall, and you're going to survive. Yeah, it's uncomfortable. But what I'm getting is try something new next week in some of the time that you're freeing up. Something you wouldn't normally do. Drive a different path to go from A to B. Go to a different
Absolutely.
grocery store if we're talking about really low level stuff.
Yeah.
Experiential. Go reserve around at Top Golf if you've never golfed before. Go bowling. Go play billiards. Something you haven't done before and you're probably not going to be good at.
Yeah.
Every time I go to Top Golf, every time I go to play pool, every time I go bowling, I fail miserably compared to my friends I'm going with, because I don't do it enough. But it reminds me, you can't, unless you're a freak with natural talent, and that does occur. You can't be good at something without practicing. B, I survived, and C, hey, it was actually kind of fun.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm a proponent of trying something different because it might loosen up a log jam in your head. Like you said,
it really
take
does.
a different route to work.
It's a neural pathway,
100%.
Yeah.
You
It's
have to
cross training. That's what it is.
Well, and that's a great point, George, because the way I see it is there's two ways to do this. One is the easy way, and one is kind of the hard way. The easier way is exactly what Jonesy is saying here. You want to do a pattern interrupt. You want to create cognitive dissonance in your life, because we're so remote. We're like robots most of the time. Even when we think we're thinking, we're not. We're just like doing instead of being alive. There's a difference between being alive and living, right? So that first thing is take a different road. Do what I did, acting classes. I went back to school at night. I did improv for a little bit, etc. Those things changed me up. The other thing is, and unfortunately, a lot of people have to hit this, until the pain of changing, until the pain of staying the same is greater than the pain of changing, sadly, most people will not do it. They won't change. It's even then, it's like people, and sadly, somebody loses their job, they'll commit suicide rather than try to open their own business. My life's over. I failed at being a car salesman. I'm no good. I'm worthless. I'm going to drink myself to death now. That is so sad, because even if you fail in this, as long as you fail falling forward, meaning, say the finish line is economic and lifestyle freedom, and you start out way back here. First thing you try, you fail. Oh, it didn't work for me. Did you fail falling forward? In other words, are you going to brush yourself off, stand back up, and are you an inch further towards your goal than you were when you started? Well, hell, man, that counts. Now do it again. And I don't want you to be bloody and beat up every time, but the real failure is never trying. The real failure is giving up your dreams. The real failure is selling your soul in exchange for quote unquote security. And I think it should be the S myth, the security myth, because like I said, not to repeat again, but the GM plan, the railroad, the airline, everything I've ever worked at, maybe 20 different jobs, I could tell you. Maybe there's one that's still in business. Well, you have to have some pretty damn good odds. And even then, what would I be making now? 30 to 50 grand a year? Ooh, gee, I was making 30 grand a year driving a truck 28 years ago.
Yeah. Yeah. You brought that up many times, until the pain of staying the same is greater than the pain of changing. It makes so much sense. It's like, how much pain can you handle? How much complaining can you handle? How many marriages do you have to go through? How many girlfriends, boyfriends, how many relationships do you have to go through before you realize, man, I got to change something? I've had enough. I've had it up to here. And everybody's been at rock bottom at one point or another. And I think we're afraid of making the same mistake over and over and over again. I think a great exercise is to, and I don't want this to be like one of those paralysis of analysis things, but make a list of possible failures and what led to them, and how could that have been avoided or mitigated? I mean, literally just hold trial and say, look, whether it be a failed relationship or a failed business, whatever, I will never forget getting angry at a counselor that said to me, eventually you will discover the role that you played in the demise of your marriage. I was ready to punch him in the face, man. I was like, are you saying that was my fault? You know, like that kind of thing. And
Right.
literally, I had to humble myself. And I'm thinking, okay, because now I can write a pretty long list of the things that I could have done differently. And I know until I wrote them down, until I wrote those damn things down, uh, I was Sir Blame a lot. I was blaming everybody for everything except myself. And
Yeah.
the only guy to blame is the guy in the mirror, you know?
Well, the thing is, George, the other thing people need to realize is this: two things. Wherever you go, there you are. So the grass isn't any greener. Any marriage is going to be work. Any marriage is going to be fun sometimes, and it's going to be just a pain in the ass sometimes, right? And then the other thing is, you're the only person, like I said last episode, you're the only person that has to live with you 24/7, 365. So the shit, and that's what it is, that we tell ourselves unconsciously or consciously needs to be addressed and redirected. Because like I said the last time, if somebody came up to me and said, Frank, you're a stupid truck driver, you got no skills, you're never going to go anywhere, how dare you try the internet, I would have punched that person in the face. But yet that's what I said to myself. Well, gee, Mr. Truck Driver, I haven't driven a truck in 28 years, I guess it worked out okay, right? You know, you got to watch yourself, because you have neighbors and friends and family that mean well and will detract from you. They have no power over you unless you give it to them. And they definitely don't have anywhere near the power over you that you do yourself. So that's what you have to watch out for. You're your own worst enemy. I'm my own worst enemy. You know, that's the truth of it.
I remember I worked security when I was in college, and I had a big ring of keys. Now I guess everybody just, they have little cards that they swipe and whatever.
Yeah, that's no fun.
But it
I like
was
the keys.
I had a big ring of keys, and I would go around the campus, and I had to go through some pretty big buildings where the lights were out. And I remember walking into the library. I had to walk in one end, go down the hall, go up the stairs, and walk back. These are huge buildings, very, very long. And I will never forget, I could just see the exit sign. These buildings were 100 yards long, huge, huge. Opening up the door, walking into the main hallway and seeing the exit sign 100 yards down. It's like that big. And I'm just like, and I was afraid of the boogeyman under the bed or in the closet. What if like some green claw hand, hairy hand comes out from one of the study rooms and pulls me in? And I was catastrophic. Like, what could? And I will never forget. I'm like, oh shit. And I'm searching for lights to go on, like where you find the one master light and all the lights go on down the hallway.
Right.
I couldn't find that. I'm like, fuck, I gotta walk this hallway. And here I am, 22, 23 years old in a hallway, pitch black, where you can't even see your hand in front of you. The only thing I could see was an exit sign 100 yards down. And I just had to face it. It was as simple as that. I'm like, you know what? And then after doing it for a while, it means nothing. And then I look back and I go, I can't even believe I was afraid of that at one time. I can't believe that elicited fear in me. But the only way that I did it, the only way that I got the courage to do it was by doing it. And some things you can dip your toes in. You can go to Goodwill, you can buy something and flip it on eBay. And that might give you the confidence, hey, I can make my own money. I don't need the man to make money. You can buy books at Goodwill. You could buy clothing that's in good shape at Goodwill and literally make 100% profit on it. But when you convince yourself, when you teach yourself that you can do it, even at a tiny level, it gives you courage and confidence to move forward and to scale up. But you're not going to make $1 million your first week. You might make $1 your first week. And it's amazing. Like why do so many brick and mortar businesses have that damn dollar bill taped to the wall near the cash register? Because it represents the first dollar they made in their income. And I think we've lost that in the, I'll tell you how far back I go with Google. When Google would actually send me a check, I actually got to find the pay stub for that. literally Google for the first 6 months, and then they went to all automated payments. But I will never forget the first actual check, AdSense check that I got from, and this is when they were still sending out paper and ink checks. I should tape that sucker on the wall. As humble as it was, I should tape it to the wall because I made money without the man. And I was pumped. I don't know, it was maybe $100 or something, you know. I was so proud of that $100. I was so proud. It actually paid for my cell phone. It was great. And, you know, and every month, my YouTube channel, my podcast, my goal was just pay for my phone. All I want to do is pay for my cell phone. That's all I want to do. And then when it started doing that, I'm like, I just want to pay for a tank of gas. And it did that. And then it was like, I wanted to pay the electric bill. And then it did that. And then it got to the point where it became mortgage money. And it was nice. But it was the first dollar that kind of reinforced my hustle. It wasn't a lot of money at all. But man, it proved to me unconsciously that I can do it. Jonesy, do you have an experience like that or any story like that?
Yeah, listen, I mean, that's what we talk about in our conversion chemistry Fire Your Boss blueprint is get to the first sale fast because of the psychological impact of the small victory. No matter how big or small, it undoes that logjam that you were talking about before. And man, my side hustle goes back a long way. But it basically proves market viability, even at the most small scale. And, you know, my first, you know, I did some stuff for cash, of course. This goes back a long time to like when I was in high school, building some websites for cash and whatnot. You know, I think I ended up, seniors had to do a senior project, whatever it was. And somebody paid me to do theirs in the form of a website back in the early 2000s. And this thing took me a couple hours at most. And I got paid $75 for it back in like 2001, 2002. I mean, it was a total scam because I did a kid's senior project for him, which is supposed to take all year. But man, I just monetized something almost as a joke. And what that did was tell me, wow, I can do this for a living.
Yeah. Yeah. I love it. Frank, how about yourself? Tell me about the first dollar that you made apart from trucking.
I'm trying to think if I was buying and selling on eBay back then. That's a side hustle I do today because I'm into trains and you know, I'll buy a train book at like a flea market. If I don't want it, I mark it up and sell it. Train pictures, the little slides with the projector and all. I've got over 7,000 transactions, positive feedbacks on eBay from transactions. So even with this, I've got a side hustle for my side hustle. The first check, I couldn't tell you, it was one affiliate program or another. Probably wasn't more than $25 or $50, but I'll tell you what, the first one was the hardest because it was everything. And people need to understand this and listen careful. The first check is always going to be the hardest because it's everything in your entire life that led you up to that point. Now you're here. You're right here. Now all you're doing is going here, and then you're going here, and then you're going here, and then you're going here. You're not going from here to the, you know, the first day you were born all over again. It's incremental past a certain point. You hit your pivot point, the tipping point. That's the book I'm thinking, the tipping point. And then there you are. I mean, I don't know. All I know is if I can do it, anybody can do it. Because like I say, depression, divorce, you know, easily distracted, like squirrel, you know, just like the next person, you know. How dare you laugh at me, Mario? I played you for how many years?
Mamma mia.
You know how hard it is to keep a straight face when your partner's got his tagline, it's a me, Jonesy. And I'm supposed to be a serious interview. You're making it very hard, young fella, I tell you.
We have fun here, and that's the point. We're not working.
Well, I would have dressed up.
Yep, we're not working, we're having fun. That's right.
Yeah, it would have been Tim Curry from Rocky Horror, but still. that would have been good to show up.
And switch gears here for a second. We have a Fire Your Boss Summit coming up. Jonesy, you want to tell us about that?
I do. So actually it's you can register now. And by you, I mean whoever's listening, fireyourbosssummit.com. We are going to be running on February 5, 6, and 7. So the way this works is if you are logged on, we're going to be streaming those 3 days, featuring speakers, entrepreneurs, business owners who are going to give you the toolkit and blueprint to be able to effectively monetize your side hustle and help you even create one if you're having problems with that. So during those 3 days, it's completely free to watch. Then we have a VIP upgrade where you can get the content for life. And this is like many tens of thousands of dollars worth of content that is individually sold by these speakers, business owners, and entities when they, when they speak live with their toolkits and blueprints and courses that they're giving you access to. So we're bringing them all together. That the three of us will be speaking. I've already gotten commitments from some other entrepreneurs that'll be joining us. So go register right now. You'll be on it's not even a waiting list. It's basically an update list. So we're going to do speaker drops and what the type of content that'll be. We're months out of this, but I want everybody to know now because it's going to be massive and it's going to open up pathways for a lot of people.
What a logical thing to do. I mean, just think about it. It's kind of like the logical conclusion after almost a year of doing Fire Your Boss podcasts. I mean, this is talk about humble beginnings. This just started as an idea of just a couple guys, 2-3 guys talking, and I wasn't ready for it. I'm like, you know what? Ready, fire, aim. Let's just do it.
Yeah.
Let's do it. And we did it. And we just completed 30 episodes, which now is kind of funneling into a Fire Your Boss Summit, which, and again, I think we're going to end up with a Fire Your Boss mastermind group when it's all said and done. And who knows where it's going. I think it's going to be bigger than we think. I really do, because I think I think the concept kind of sells itself. Like, this is not a hard sell. This is like there's just like 1, 2, maybe 3 diagnostic questions. Like, do you enjoy working for the man? Have you ever fantasized about telling your boss, I'm done, I quit? Like everyone says, there's your qualifying questions right there. I don't think I know of a person who would ever say no to any of those things. So the Fire Your Boss Summit, and it's what, fireyourbosssummit.com?
That's correct.
Excellent. Great. And then also, when it comes to Fire Your Boss in Conversion Chemistry, which is the business that you guys have, and we collaborate, we kind of work hand in hand, Conversion Chemistry and Fire Your Boss. Is there any news on the fireyourboss.win or Conversion Chemistry?
Absolutely. Look, we want you to join our masterminds, and we want you to get a taste of it. So go register for a free account, and you'll get your free DIY marketing toolkit. And we are offering, because now it's Halloween, so by the time this drops, we're looking Black Friday. I guess we'll do 75% off the Fire Your Boss blueprint, which is available on fireyourboss.win using code Bruno.
Beautiful. That's beautiful. I like that. Well, I will give, I guess that's Jonesy's last word. Let's give Frank a last word.
What I would say is don't overcomplicate things. Just get started. I've seen too many people, I saw one lady, my network marketing group, the way the program worked is you could put people under people, right? I built half her business. She was making $200 a week for free 30 something years ago as a household, stay-at-home housewife. She quit. She didn't think she could do it, even though she was making the money, right? I was helping her. I won't say her name. I remember her name to this day. Her first name was Debbie, right? Loved her to bits. One of my best people. She says, Frank, I can't do this. I don't believe in myself. I don't think it'll work. When she was making $200 a week. So that's probably like $350, $400 a week in today's money. Part-time working for home. Her overhead was $100 a month for supplements that she needs to take anyway. Really good stuff. That's sad, man. That is sad. And yet today, 30 years later, I'm watching people fiddle-faddle around in real estate. It's like, dude, get your finger out, get on the phone, work the leads. I don't care how you do it. You're going to suck at first, excuse my French. I was horrible at first in business. I'd be like, this is my script, George. Hi, my name is Frank Garon. And it was bad. But you know what?
Yeah.
The first time I rode a bike, I fell on my head, right? Second time. First time I drove tractor trailer, I was like, ah! It's anything else. You had 100% track record of success this far. keep it moving. And if you're going to work hard for anybody, why the hell wouldn't you work hard for yourself, George?
Yeah,
Reckon.
that's right. Well, I like that because I know I work harder for myself than I do for the man.
Oh yeah, and rightly so.
I work much harder, and it's very rare that we get patted on the back at our quote unquote jobs. When you work for the man, you know, you don't get a lot of recognition. I mean, there's a lot of cool things, praise publicly, um,
Share credit and shoulder blame if you're a boss.
yeah, exactly. Discipline privately, that kind of stuff. Like, there's a lot of cool practical things that people can do, but the ultimate thing, for instance, most of the riches that have been made in this country have been made because people brought nothing to the table except risk. They had to get rid of fear. They had to unload fear. And what an appropriate topic for a podcast. Gentlemen, I want to thank you for your time, and our friendly acquaintances in the audience. Look for more Fire Your Boss. We'll see you very soon. And don't forget to go to fireyourbosssummit.com.